Kofi Kingston. This show was built around one thing and one thing only. That was Kofi Kingston running the gauntlet against The Bar, Rowan, Samoa Joe, and Randy Orton. It opened with Kofi against Sheamus. It took almost 15 minutes, but Kofi did beat him with the Trouble in Paradise. Then he beat Cesaro with the SOS. At that point, WWE sent out an SMS, text message alert, during the match that read, and I quote, Kofi Kingston defeats Cesaro. Rowan is up next for the Dreadlocked Dynamo. Was I not just talking about this last week? This nonsense with their nicknames that they insist on giving everybody? It looks like Kofi put his $10 PayPal donation in this week for his wrestling nickname. Somebody said that to me on Twitter. I said, that's exactly what I thought. What makes this even worse is that apparently, and I didn't know this, but I got tweets from a lot of you guys telling me that, wait a minute, this name's been around for a while. You've never heard of this before. I said, no, this is not a new name. He has had this name going back at least to 2011, maybe earlier than that, but at least 2011. That's the earliest reference I was able to find to the name the Dreadlock Dynamo. Somebody sent me a random tweet from a fan dated January 2nd, 2011, asking when did they start calling Kofi Kingston the Dreadlock Dynamo? I'm asking myself the same question, and it's 8 years later. But that makes it so much worse, because that means that they had at least 8 years to come to their senses. The Dreadlocked Dynamo. Holy shit. At least they don't call him that on TV. I don't think I've ever heard them actually call him that. Sounds like a .com thing, or a thing internally just for marketing purposes. That's not the only nickname he's ever had. For a while, many years ago, when he was the Intercontinental Champion, they called him the Wildcat. Wildcat Kofi Kingston. See, that I actually kind of like. That flows a lot better. Wildcat I would be okay with, although it makes me think of Chris Harris, which is not good. But Wildcat I'd be okay with. The Dreadlocked Dynamo, that can go die in a fire. The only nickname he should have after WrestleMania is WWE Champion. Up next was Rowan. He came out, he got himself disqualified by hitting Kofi with a chair. Then he gave him the Iron Claw Slam through the announce desk. So he's done for. He's laid out. We then hear Samoa Joe's music. Out to pick the bones. So they wrestle for a few minutes. I don't know why Joe didn't... well, I know why. I mean, it wasn't booked this way. But logically speaking, Joe should have just come out and either let the guy get counted out or roll him in the ring and choke him out. But they wrestled for a few minutes, and he went for a muscle buster. Kofi reversed it into a cradle, and he pinned him. He pinned the United States champion. That brought out Randy Orton, Kofi's old nemesis, who I don't know how many of you picked up on it, but when they were wrestling outside, Orton looked in the camera and called him stupid. Yet again. When Orton went for the RKO, Kofi rolled him up and pinned him to win the gauntlet. 60 minutes this match lasted. Kofi Kingston punched his ticket to WrestleMania, except he didn't. Vince McMahon came out. He said, congratulations, but you're not done yet. He barred Kofi, or rather Big E and Xavier, who came out to celebrate. He barred them from ringside. He banished them to the back. And he announced that you've got one more opponent to beat if you want to go to WrestleMania. And out came the WWE Champion, Daniel Bryan. Bryan attacked Kofi with kicks. He put the label lock on him. Kofi was able to make the ropes. He hit the SOS. He did get a near fall out of it, but in the end, it was Kofi being pinned after the running knee. And Daniel Bryan gets the win. He shatters Kofi's dreams for now of going to WrestleMania. And I thought that the way they did this was frustrating, sure, but if you're following the story, you know where this is going. I'm still amazed there are this many people who get angry and post things like, fuck WWE, fuck this company, I can't believe they did that, as though they really think that they're screwing over Kofi Kingston. I'm a little scared, to be honest with you. I'm a little frightened by these people, and that they don't see what's going on here, and that this is just part of the natural story that they're building to, with Kofi getting his championship match. The thing I didn't agree with here, I didn't agree with both Joe and Randy Orton being pinned clean like that with the same fluky roll-up finish. There's no creativity behind it. I didn't think it was necessary to beat both of them clean. If you want to get a fluky cradle on one, okay, but I was stunned they didn't have AJ Styles come out at the end and give Kofi the assist in some way, or distract Randy, hopefully not off his stupid theme music playing, but just in some way. And yeah, it would cheapen the win, I guess, but Kofi got a fluke roll up. That's not a cheap way to win. Get a flash pin? What does it really mean? So that I didn't agree with that. I would have had AJ come out and add a little heat between him and Orton and cost Orton the match. The main thing I wish they would do is come up with a logical explanation for why Vince McMahon keeps screwing over Kofi Kingston and does not want him in the WrestleMania main event despite all of the fan support. Kofi's got a lot of people on his side right now. They're very vocal. It just doesn't make sense. His excuse a few weeks ago that we need somebody who's box office. Kofi isn't box office. I mean, is that still his excuse? That flies in the face of what he stood in the ring and told all of us in December about giving the fans what they want. I mean, I guess technically it was Triple H who said that. All the more reason why I wish they would have gone with the idea of a power struggle between them. But in any event, it was only a few months ago they were standing in the ring and they were talking about, we're going to improve things and shake things up and give the people what they want. You are the authority. Remember, you and me, we're all the authority. Well, the fans are pretty vocal about Kofi, and yet Vince McMahon comes out every week on TV to screw this guy over. And there's no real explanation for it other than the obvious. And it looks like they're tiptoeing around it without actually saying it. That is, that Vince McMahon is a gigantic racist and does not want to see Kofi Kingston win the WWE title because people like him don't win the WWE title. They may have won the big gold belt. They might have won the IC title and the tag team titles and the US title, but not the WWE title. People like him are there to dance and be funny, just like the New Day. It's the Triple H Booker T thing all over again. That's the only reasonable conclusion to draw from all of this if you're following this story. Big E drove that point home with a video that he tweeted to really try to give this story an air of reality. And no, New Day is not leaving. They're not quitting the company. Something else people seem to be buying into in some circles. Again, I'm stunned by how many people are talking about this from like a work shoot viewpoint as though there's any question. I mean, actually, I guess in a small way, it's kind of cool because it shows kayfabe isn't totally dead. It's in a coma. It's on life support. It's hooked up to tubes. But there is still some brain activity. So that I guess is a little cool. Still frightening, but cool. What they're doing here is they're blurring the lines. They're playing off this idea that a lot of people have, and you can agree with it or you can disagree with it, but it is a lot of people have this idea. And there's no denying the way that this company has positioned and portrayed a lot of its black stars over the years. They dance, they shook, they jive. I mean, how many times have we seen this? So they're playing off of that. Big E did a very effective job, I thought, with his video after SmackDown. He said he was very frustrated. He said, we see what the game is. People like us only get so far. They'll let you climb the mountain. But as far as getting to the peak and staying at the peak, it's not the thing that people like us, historically and moving forward clearly, we can only get so far. And at the end of his video, he teased, you know what, New Day, maybe we're going to walk away from this. Maybe it's not worth it anymore. Being gone 250 plus days a year, doing what we do to our bodies, maybe it's not worth it. Xavier Woods, he continued to push that narrative with his own video. He said, look, we have other things that we enjoy doing. We have other skills. Me, I have video games. And he said, considering the fact that I'm trying to create a small video game studio right now, that's another skill that I have. That's another way I can feed myself and feed my family. He said, being treated the way we are, being treated the way that we've been treated lately, and most likely will be treated going forward, I just wanted to tell all of you that I appreciate what Vince McMahon has done. Thank you very much, because it has definitely shown me the direction that I need to go in to take care of my family and myself. Now, do they need to be playing the race card in this storyline? Of course not. No, they don't. Kofi could have been the underdog just fine without it having nothing to do with the color of his skin. They didn't have to go down this road. But now there can be no doubt that they're playing the race angle here, and it's something a lot of black fans can relate to. God knows I've gotten my share of dozens of questions here into the show, into the mailbag over the years. That in all the years I've been doing this podcast, from a lot of different people about the way that black talents have been portrayed in WWE, or the lack of black WWE champions. And wherever you stand on this issue, the perception is absolutely there. And it does bother a lot of people. It's something they can relate to. In listening to what Big E and Xavier are saying in their promos and their videos, it sounds to me like what they may do, and I think Brian Maxwell, he used to write for WWE. He hit the nail right on the head. I think this is exactly what we're in for. I think what's likely to happen on Tuesday is New Day is going to go and they're going to ask to be released from their contracts. On TV, they're going to come out, they're going to request Vince McMahon's presence, and they're going to ask for their release. If you're going to continue to fuck with us, if Kofi is not getting his match at WrestleMania, if there's no future for us here, we want out. And Vince, of course, will refuse. But then AJ Styles comes out, and he asks for his release if Kofi doesn't get his WrestleMania match. Which probably would have been better had he not gone on Twitter and said that he just signed the new WWE deal, but that's neither here nor there. AJ says he wants his release. Kevin Owens comes out. He says, I want my release. The Usos, they want their release. Your tag team champions, right? Brothers in arms with the New Day. Of course, they're going to back them up. We saw them backstage standing next to Big E and Xavier on Tuesday night, cheering on Kofi during the gauntlet. They'll come out, I'm sure, stand with them in solidarity. They ask for their release. And soon there's so many stars coming out asking for their release. Cody and the Bucks are just popping the champagne cork. And Vince with his entire roster threatening to walk out if he doesn't give them their release, finally relents and tells Kofi Kingston, you've got your match with Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. And then Kofi goes to WrestleMania, he pins Daniel Bryan, and Vince walks out and he says, I never said it was for the WWE title, haha. And that's how WrestleMania goes off the air. No. Actually, you know what? I say no, I wouldn't put it past them. But no, he gives Kofi his WrestleMania title match. And that's how this thing pays off in the end. So basically, it's just a different twist on the Occupy Raw angle they did with Daniel Bryan 5 years ago. I don't want them to copy the exact same angle and do it the exact same way. Yeah, at least if you're going to take an idea, mold it and shape it in a different way. Put a little twist on things. I think that's what they're going to do. In a perfect world, New Day would come to SmackDown on Tuesday, and instead of having people feel sorry for them, they'd fuck some shit up. No more playing around, no more bootios, no more pancakes. Give us what we earned. It's like if you hired somebody to do a job for you and they decided not to pay when the job was done, if you're messing around with the wrong people, you'd get both your kneecaps broken. I'd love to see the New Day come out and bust some kneecaps. Trade those pancakes for pipes. And fuck some shit up. That's what I'd like to see. But I don't think that's what we're going to get. I think the first idea is what we're going to see on Tuesday. And that's okay too. They've created a story here that makes you feel something, which is more than I can say for Brock Lesnar against Seth Rollins, where the only thing I feel is apathy. They have a lot of people invested in this Kofi story. He's going to WrestleMania. He's going to wrestle for the championship. I don't know if he's going to win the championship. I think the worst thing WWE could do after a story like this, if this is the path they've chosen to go down, is to have Kofi get bookered. That would be the worst thing that could happen. They have to go all the way with this and give people the big dramatic win. I will warn you, though, even if Kofi Kingston wins at WrestleMania, and he's got a lot of people pulling for him, don't expect any kind of special run for Kofi Kingston as the WWE champion. He may win at WrestleMania, he should, but he's not their chosen one. He's not their guy to be the champion. Neither was Daniel Bryan in 2014 when he won the title, and look what they did with him. Look what they had him doing after WrestleMania that year. Feuding with Kane, he and his wife running away from Demon Kane in the parking garage. Then he got hurt, and he had to surrender the title, so he never really had much of a chance. But he wasn't focused on really in any kind of special way. Those few weeks gave us a very poor glimpse into what the future of Daniel Bryan looked like as the champion. Supposedly, he was going to be the one going to SummerSlam that year and getting squashed by Brock Lesnar, not John Cena. It was only Cena because Bryan went down and Cena became the sacrificial lamb. That spot was reserved for Daniel Bryan. So that gives you kind of a sense of the kind of big run for the big fan favorite that they had planned for Daniel Bryan in 2014. You honestly think in 2019 with Kofi Kingston, if he wins the championship, that it's going to be any different? If anything, it's going to be worse. It'll be shorter. You know, anybody who has these images in their head of Kofi Kingston winning the title and becoming this big-time main event player and having some kind of long AJ Styles type or CM Punk type run with the belt, you're in for a big rude awakening. They may give us the feel-good moment, and one day when he's old and shriveled up making convention appearances, Kofi will be able to advertise himself as former WWE champion, Kofi Kingston. But don't expect some kind of long, memorable run for this guy with the belt. In fact, I would expect Daniel Bryan to win the belt back not long after. I don't think they changed the look of the championship and created this hemp belt as a gimmick to last all of 6 weeks. Because I don't think going into WrestleMania the plan was for Bryan to lose. It may not be. It still may not be. Bryan may win. But even if he loses, I don't expect that he'll be without that championship very long. I'm just being realistic about this. And I think you should be too. Once we get to the payoff, I would not bet on there being any kind of meaningful change in the way that this guy is positioned on this show. And then you're going to have a lot of very angry people saying, oh, it's not fair. They did him dirty. What a waste of a run. When you have to remember, always remember, he was never supposed to get this run in the first place. And when the fans fuck with their plans, they tend to resent us for it.